Hello and welcome. My name is Paul Aldridge. I'm one of the ministers at the Estuary group of churches at Ashington, Rayleigh and Southend. Have you ever noticed when everything seems to be going right in our lives, suddenly a spanner gets thrown in the works and we find ourselves going through another challenging time? And I think we're all finding ourselves going through a challenging time at the moment. So many of us are locked down and can't go out. The only ones that can go out are the ones that are key workers or people that can't work at home. And it's in these times I look at James 1:12, which says, "Blessed is the one who perseveres under trials." But it's when I read James 1, 2 and 4, it always makes me smile. It says, "My brethren, count it all joy when you fall into various trials, knowing that the testing of your faith produces patience. But let patience have its perfect work, that you may be perfect and complete, lacking nothing." Well, some time ago, I read a book by R.T. Kendall, and recently I've just bought it again. In the opening pages, R.T. tells of a story of his bad behaviour in a pizza bar or a pizza shop in Florida. The thing is, at that time, or just before that time, he was just about to do a series when he got home on pure joy from the book of James. Let me tell you what happened to him. He was in Florida and he was with his family. He went out to a pizza takeaway to get their tea. He went into the shop, ordered the pizza, and 45 minutes later, while he was waiting and waiting and waiting, getting really frustrated and really getting quite anxious, he went over to the bar and where the manager was, and he said to him, "Can I have a word?" And he had a word with the manager of this pizza takeaway shop. And he gave him a word, all right. He was very angry. He let him know that he was angry, that he'd been waiting for 45 minutes for this pizza. Anyway, the pizza eventually arrived, and RT was given this pizza in a box, and then the box was placed in a big paper bag. So he left the shop. He got to the door, the entrance of the shop, and looked through the glass window and saw that it was absolutely pouring down with rain. So he thought, right, I've now got to walk right away across to the other side of the car park to get to the car. So he started walking across the car park, and by the time he got to the car, the bag that the pizza box was in just was wringing, sopping wet. It split open right next to the car and fell on the floor straight in a great big puddle. As he bent down and tried to recover this pizza, it just was soaked right the way through. This made him even more angry. And it made him think of what he'd been studying previously for his new series on pure joy in the book of James. As I just read to you, he remembered that first verse, "Dear brethren, count it all joy when you fall into various trials." Well, as you can imagine, God spoke to him. He had to go back to the shop. He had to order a new pizza, and he had to apologise to this man. He realised that God was really showing him something through these trials that he'd just been through. So he had to eat humble pie, as we say. He got his pizza and left the shop and went back to his family. It makes you really understand pure joy when you read John 15, 1 and 2. It says, or Jesus says, "I am the true vine, my Father is the vine dresser. Every branch in me that does not bear fruit, he takes away. And every branch that bears fruit, he prunes, that it may bear more fruit. Jesus used these parables to teach the people 2,000 years ago. And he still teaches us through his word today, through these parables. But the metaphors we use today are different, that we often struggle to understand the meaning of these parables. So let me see if I can throw some light on the subject. About a month ago, we had tree fellas working on the avenue at the side of my house, pollarding the trees. Now, pollarding trees is when they cut the branches right back to the stub of the tree, right back to where the branches are growing out. It promotes growth and it makes the tree stronger. And by doing this, by the end of the year, the tree has grown bushier and taller. But let me just say, the tree, before they started to pollard it, these trees were about 30 foot high. They was reaching the tops of the roofs on the houses. And by the time they finished pollarding them, they're down to about 15 foot high, probably less than the gutter height. But when the trees grow back, the roots, the branches, the stems, they grow up fresh and new and tall and bushy and covered in fresh new leaves by the end of the summer. These branches are very pliable because they're so young and fresh. And it made me think, when you realise what Jesus is saying, every branch in me that does not bear fruit, he takes away. And every branch that bears fruit, he prunes, that it may bear more fruit. This means quite often that when we are going through challenging times, it could be that Jesus is helping us to grow and maybe bear more fruit. It also reassures us that Jesus is close to us, that he knows when we might need a little pruning from time to time. Pruning is never comfortable, but is beneficial for us. It's in these times that it's worth reflecting on Proverbs 3, 5 and 6, which says, "Trust in the Lord with all your heart. Lean not on your own understanding. In all your ways acknowledge him, and he shall direct your path." So we can now understand why God sometimes prunes us from time to time. God does this so that we may bear more fruit. He does this to encourage us to have new growth. He does this to give us new strength. He does this so that we may encourage other people, so that other people may know who it is we follow, to glorify our Father in heaven. The Bible says in Isaiah 40:31, "But those who trust in the Lord will find new strength. They will soar high on wings like eagles. They will run and not grow weary. They will walk and not faint." So it's worth remembering in the future, when we are going through a tricky time, when we're going through a time of struggle, it might be Jesus helping us to grow. So as that word says, think it all joy. So we must think it joy as we go through these times, because Jesus is close to us. Till next time, stay safe. God bless you.